My sisters and brothers, as we said at the beginning of the Mass today, we're celebrating a votive Mass in honor of St. Joseph. And we prayed at the Mass that through the intercession of St. Joseph, we would pray for all of those who are without as we celebrate Thanksgiving tomorrow. He is really the caretaker of the church, the universal patron of the universal church. And he is the one that cares for the poor in a special way. A number of years ago, Mother Teresa's brothers, the missionaries of charity, but the brothers, were working in California. And they had a huge soup kitchen there. But as often happens with these things, they ran out of funds. They were running out of funds, and they were not getting enough money, enough supply to help the soup kitchen continue. Not knowing what to do, the board of directors of the soup kitchen called a meeting, and they invited Mother Teresa to come to the meeting. So Mother Teresa was at the meeting, and when they were sitting at the meeting, they said to Mother Teresa, look, this is our 5-year plan, this is all the things that we have prepared, but we're still not getting money for the soup kitchen. We're going to have to close. And Mother Teresa was not happy with that. And so she listened to all of them give their discussion and their arguments and their reasons. And at the end of it, she said, well, tell me. She looked at the president of the board and she said, tell me, did you pray to St. Joseph? And the board president just looked at her like, where is this nun coming from? We don't have money. And she's worried about praying to St. Joseph. And she said, did you pray to St. Joseph? And he said, Mother, you don't understand. We don't have the money. We need all this money. We need all these funds. It's more than just praying to St. Joseph. And she looked at him and she said, did you write a letter to St. Joseph? And he looked at her again and he said, Mother, the kitchen, we can't go forward. And she said, you have to write a letter to St. Joseph and tell St. Joseph what you need. And then bring the letter to the church and put it underneath the statue of St. Joseph. I hope I don't find a lot of letters under St. Joseph after this. Anyway, put it under St. Joseph. And he said, but Mother, put the letter under St. Joseph. And so Mother Teresa's Mother Teresa. So he wrote the letter. He went into the nearby church, very sheepishly put a letter under St. Joseph's statue so that nobody would see what he was doing. And wouldn't you know, soon after, all of a sudden, all of these donations began to come in the mail. And the largest donation, which was an anonymous donation of $50,000, came from Alaska. And before you knew it, they had all the money they needed to continue the soup kitchen. And when they told Mother Teresa, she said, I told you, write a letter to St. Joseph, and he would take care of it. You know, my sisters and brothers, the simple faith of the saints has a lot to teach us. And the confidence that they have in their counterparts in heaven have a lot to teach us. Today, I think, as we celebrate this votive Mass in honor of St. Joseph, certainly We all have needs that we want to bring to him, each one of us personally. But I think today especially, as we think of Thanksgiving, as we think of the abundance of gifts that we're blessed with, we also remember the very many people who here in our country tomorrow will go to bed hungry. We will be stacking up Tupperware filled with leftover food. And there are many people in our country today, tomorrow, who will go to bed hungry. We ask St. Joseph, certainly, to help them, but he reminds us that it's our responsibility to be the hands of Christ and the heart of Christ and the feet of Christ for our brothers and sisters who don't have the necessities of life. And they are many. They are many. Today, let's reflect on that. Let's thank God for the abundance of gifts we have. And let's ask ourselves sincerely and deeply, what am I doing for those who have so much less? Right here in my neighborhood, in my places where I'm living. What am I doing for those who have so much less? God bless you.